The rain-slicked streets of Manhattan gleamed like shattered glass under the sodium lamps, and I stumbled out of the alley, heart pounding from the near miss with that swerving taxi, only to lock eyes with him, the man whose face had haunted my dreams for weeks. Damian Blackwood, the ice-cold executive from the novel I'd binged last month, stood there in his tailored wool coat, umbrella in hand, his sharp jaw set in that signature scowl that screamed danger. But instead of sneering or shoving me aside like the villain he was supposed to be, he stepped forward, wrapping the umbrella over my head with a murmur that cut through the downpour. "You always find the worst ways to test fate, don't you, Alex?" I blinked, water dripping from my lashes, my mind reeling because this wasn't how the story went. In Shadows of Desire, the trashy BL web novel I devoured during a brutal breakup, I was the hapless protagonist. Well, the version of me that woke up in this body 3 days ago, a wide-eyed graphic designer named Alex Harper, perpetually screwed over by fate and the plot's cruel twists. Damien was the antagonist, the ruthless heir to Blackwood Enterprises, who tormented the hero with corporate sabotage and whispered threats, all while secretly pining in that delicious enemies-to-lovers trope. But here I was, in the flesh or whatever this parallel New York was, and Damien had just saved me from pneumonia by sharing his umbrella, his cologne of faint spice that made my stomach flip in ways that weren't in the script. "Harper," he said, voice low and gravelly, guiding me toward the curb where his sleek black Audi idled like a predator in the storm. "Get in before you drown." It wasn't a request. I slid into the passenger seat, leather creaking under me, and as the door shut with a solid thunk, I realized this wasn't just any rewrite. The villain wasn't plotting my downfall. He was rewriting my survival, one improbable rescue at a time. By the time we pulled up to my cramped walk-up in Chelsea, the rain had eased to a drizzle, but my nerves were still electric. Damien killed the engine, his long fingers drumming the wheel once, twice, before he turned to me with those piercing gray eyes that the novel described as storm clouds ready to unleash hell. Except now, they held something softer, almost weary. "You look like you haven't slept since the merger fallout," he said, not accusing, just stating it like a fact he'd memorized. I forced a laugh, rubbing my palms on my jeans that weren't mine, technically, since I'd woken up in Alex's life, complete with his freelance gigs and a closet full of ironic band tees. Yeah, well, deadlines wait for no man. Or Taxi, apparently. In the book, this was the point where Damien would drop a veiled threat about poaching my clients from rival firm Vega Designs, kicking off the sabotage arc. Instead, he reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a thermos, steam curling from the lid as he unscrewed it. "Black coffee, extra strong. Figured you'd need it after pulling that all-nighter on the Reynolds pitch." My jaw went slack. How did he know? The novel's Alex was clueless, blindsided at every turn. I took the thermos, the warmth seeping into my chilled fingers, and muttered a thanks that came out more like a croak. Damien just nodded, his profile sharp against the dashboard glow, and for a split second, I wondered if this was some meta twist, the author herself intervening, or maybe I'd glitched the plot by knowing it too well. "Why are you doing this?" I blurted, the words hanging heavy in the humid air. He paused, hand on the door handle, and shot me a look that was equal parts amusement and ache. "Because someone has to keep you from imploding, Harper. And apparently, it's me." He left me there on the stoop, thermos in hand, as his taillights vanished into the night. I fumbled my keys into the lock, the apartment door creaking open to reveal the familiar chaos. Sketches pinned to every wall, a half-eaten pizza box on the coffee table, and Jamie sprawled on the couch in oversized sweats, scrolling TikTok with the volume muted. My best friend since Parsons School of Design, by Bold, and the only one who'd stuck by original Alex through his coming-out mess 2 years back. Looked up, eyebrows shooting high. "Dude, was that Blackwood's ride?" "Spill." "Now." I collapsed beside her, handing over the thermos like it was contraband. Long story. Involves rain, near death by cab, and him playing White Knight instead of Dragon. Jamie snatched the coffee, taking a swig before her eyes widened. "Wait, Damien Blackwood? The guy who's been low-key stalking your Insta stories?" "Alex, that's not low-key. That's plot armor." She wasn't wrong. In the novel, Jamie was the sassy sidekick, The one who pushed Alex toward the bland love interest, Ryan Vega, the golden boy creative director at the rival firm. But real Jamie, or this version, had her own layers. A string of flings with women that never stuck, a tattoo of Virginia Woolf on her forearm, and a habit of chain-smoking menthols when her art block hit hard. We talked until the coffee went cold, her dissecting the encounter like it was a script she'd optioned. He's got that brooding anti-hero vibe, but flipped. Like, what if the villain's the only one who sees you? Her words stuck with me as I crashed on the futon, the city's hum lulling me into uneasy sleep. Dreams tangled with novel scenes. Damien smirked as he leaked Alex's designs in Chapter 5, morphing into his hand steadying me tonight. When I woke to my alarm blaring indie folk, sunlight slanting through the blinds, I half expected it all to dissolve like a bad fanfic. But the empty thermos sat on the nightstand, real as the knot in my chest. Work dragged that morning, my laptop screen blurring with font mocks for the Reynolds campaign. A luxury watch ad that screamed aspirational masculinity. Ironic given my current existential crisis. I'd woken up here, in Alex's skin, 3 days ago, mid-commute on the 6 train, a pounding headache my only clue. 1 minute, I was Ben Riley, 27-year-old marketing drone in Seattle, nursing a hangover and a fresh ghosting from my latest Tinder disaster. The next, I was Alex, portfolio in hand, pitching to clients who treated me like yesterday's news. No explanation, no tutorial, just the sinking certainty that I knew the plot beats like my social security number. Die by Chapter 10 if I didn't play along, or something. But Damien's interventions were throwing curveballs, and I wasn't sure if that made me safer or just a bigger target. By noon, my inbox pinged with a meeting invite from Ryan Vega himself. Brainstorm sesh, 2 p.m. Don't flake. In the book, this was the meet cute, all sparks and stolen glances over mood boards. Ryan, tall, blonde, with a jawline that could cut glass and a laugh like summer. The safe choice, the one Alex fell for before Damien's machinations tore it apart. I showed up at Vega Design's loft in Soho, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs, nerves jangling. Ryan greeted me with a bro hug that lingered a beat too long, his cologne crisp and citrusy. Alex, man, you're a lifesaver on this pitch. Sit. What's your poison? Espresso? Matcha? We dove in, ideas flowing like the East River, his enthusiasm infectious. For a moment, it felt normal. 2 creatives geeking out over color palettes, no impending doom. But then my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Watch your back at Vega. Leaks incoming. Attached was a screenshot of an email chain, timestamps fresh, showing one of Ryan's junior designers forwarding my Reynolds sketches to a Blackwood affiliate. My blood ran cold. Sabotage, but not from Damien, from the inside. The novel's twist flipped again. Everything good? Ryan asked, leaning in, his hand brushing mine across the table. I nodded, shoving the phone away, but the seed of doubt sprouted fast. Was this the plot correcting itself, or Damien pulling strings from the shadows? By the time I left, sketches intact because I'd accidentally locked the file with a dummy password, the sun was dipping low, painting the streets in honeyed light. I needed air, perspective, maybe a walk through Washington Square Park, where buskers strummed covers of the National and couples picnicked on the grass. That's when the second save happened. I was cutting through the arch, lost in thought, when a skateboarder, some teen with zero spatial awareness, barreled toward me, board wobbling like it had a vendetta. I froze, physics be damned, and then, impact avoided by a firm grip yanking me sideways. Damien, again, materializing like he'd GPS'd my panic attacks. He was in running gear this time, sweat-dampened tee clinging to his runner's build, earbuds dangling from one pocket. Jesus, Harper, are you trying to collect concussions? I yanked my arm free, adrenaline sharpening my tongue. What the hell? Are you following me? His laugh was short, bitter, like he'd practiced it in mirrors. In this city? Everyone's following someone. But yeah, maybe I am. Call it professional curiosity. He gestured to a bench, and we sat, the park alive around us. Joggers, dog walkers, a group of queer kids painting murals on the fountain ledge, their laughter a bright counterpoint to the tension coiling in my gut. We talked, halting at first. He asked about my designs, genuinely, dissecting the Reynolds brief like he cared about the semiotics of timepieces. I probed back. Why Blackwood? Why the cutthroat rep? And he deflected with half-truths about boardroom wars and a father who equated weakness with extinction. Family's a plot device, isn't it? He said, eyes on the horizon. Twist you into knots you can't untie. It hit too close. Original Alex's parents had disowned him after the coming out, a backstory I'd inherited like bad debt. I shared a sliver of it, testing waters, and Damien listened. No judgment, just a quiet, that sucks. But you're still standing. As dusk fell, fireflies winking in the grass. Early for New York, but magic bent rules here. He walked me to the subway, our shoulders brushing in the crowd. No umbrella this time, just shared silence that felt heavier than words. Back in the apartment, Jamie was pacing, phone in hand. So, Vega boy hit you up? Spill the tea. I did, minus the texts, and she crowed about Ryan's charm offensive. But her eyes sharpened when I mentioned Damien's park cameo. Girl, or guy, whatever, he's got you figured out. Be careful, Alex. Villains don't switch sides without an angle. She was half right. That night, as I sketched in bed, phone buzzing with Ryan's flirty follow-up, great vibes today. Dinner soon? Another message from Damien lit the screen. Leak stopped. You're welcome. Don't trust the pretty ones. Attached, proof he'd anonymously tipped off Vega's IT about the mole. My fingers hovered over reply, 1,000 questions bubbling. Who was he, really? And why did saving me feel like he was saving himself? Days blurred into a rhythm I couldn't predict. Mornings at the co-working space in Flatiron, dodging hipsters and their oat milk lattes. Afternoons pitching to clients who ghosted faster than my real-life exes. Ryan ramped up the charm. Lunches at hole-in-the-wall falafel spots. Late-night texts about dream clients. But each felt scripted, his touches lingering like cues for the meet-cute montage. Meanwhile, Damien lurked at the edges, a coffee delivery to my desk with a note, fuel for the fire. A heads-up on a predatory investor sniffing my freelance network. Each save chipped at the novel's blueprint, leaving me adrift in uncharted fields. It culminated at the annual AIGA Gala in the Javits Center, all glittering chandeliers and power networking. I went for the exposure, tux borrowed from Jamie's ex, a trans bartender with impeccable taste, nerves jangling under the starched collar. Ryan found me first, champagne flute in hand, his smile dazzling under the lights. You clean up nice, Harper. Dance. We did, a slow sway to some indie cover band, his breath warm on my neck. For a heartbeat, it was easy, attraction without the baggage, a plot point I could lean into. Then the fire alarm shrieked, false or not, sending the crowd into a milling panic. Sparks flew from an overloaded outlet near the bar, flames licking up velvet drapes faster than security could shout. I was separated from Ryan in the crush, elbowed toward the emergency exit, smoke stinging my eyes. Coughing, disoriented, I pressed against the wall, trapped, the door jammed by the surge. This was it. Chapter 7's near death, where Ryan heroically pulled me out, cementing their bond. But the hands that hauled me through a side vent weren't Ryan's. Damien, tux rumpled, soot smudging his cheek, dragged me into the loading dock's cool air, his grip iron on my wrist. Breathe, Alex. In through the nose. Sirens wailed distant, the night air sharp with exhaust and relief. He didn't let go until I steadied, then stepped back, raking a hand through his hair. You have a talent for infernos. I wheezed a laugh, adrenaline crashing. And you for extinctions. Why? Every time, it's you. His face shuddered, that storm cloud gaze dropping to the cracked pavement. Because I know what it's like to be the punchline in someone else's story. And you're not. The words hung, raw, and before I could unpack them, Ryan burst through the doors, wild-eyed. Alex. Thank God, I thought. He pulled me into a hug, but over his shoulder, Damien's eyes met mine, a flicker of something shattered. The after-party buzz died fast. Headlines screamed gala glitch, but no one died, thanks to quick evac. Ryan drove me home, chattering to fill the silence, his hand on my knee, a question I sidestepped. At the door, he leaned in for a kiss, soft, insistent, and I let it happen, tasting champagne and regret. It was nice, safe. But as he pulled away, whispering call me, all I could think was Damien's soot-streaked face, the weight of his unspoken why. Jamie was waiting, cross-legged on the floor with a bottle of Pinot and her sketchpad. So, hero of the hour. Ryan lock lips yet? I nodded, slumping beside her, and she hooped, clinking glasses. But her cheer faded as I recounted the save. Damien again? Alex, that's not coincidence. That's chemistry. She paused, swirling her wine. Look, I've been there. The safe guy who checks boxes versus the one who sets your world on fire. But fire burns. Her own story spilled then, unprompted. The girlfriend who'd bailed after coming out to her Bible Belt folks, leaving Jamie questioning if love was just another design flaw. It's scary, owning the mess. But pretending? That's the real villain. I hugged her tight, the wine loosening knots I didn't know were there. As she crashed in the guest room, our ritual for bad nights. I stared at the ceiling, the city's pulse syncing with my own erratic beat. Waking up here had gifted me a second act, but Damien was directing it off script, forcing me to confront not just the plot, but the man I'd been too scared to be. The next week cracked open like a fault line. Ryan's invitations piled up, brunch in the village, a gallery crawl in Chelsea, but each date unearthed doubts. He talked big about collaboration, but his feedback on my work always circled back to team player tweaks that diluted my edge. And the texts from Damien? Sporadic, cryptic, heard about the Tribeca pitch. Yours if you want it. Followed by contacts, intros, lifelines I hadn't asked for but couldn't refuse. It boiled over at a rooftop mixer for emerging designers, skyline sprawling endless below us, fairy lights strung like constellations. Jamie dragged me there, her new flame, a non-binary sculptor named Riley with sleeve tattoos and a wicked grin on her arm. Network, flirt, live a little, she teased, shoving a gin and tonic my way. Ryan arrived fashionably late, all easy charm, pulling me into conversations with gallery owners who nodded politely at my portfolio. Damien showed last, a shadow in the crowd, nursing a Scotch neat. I caught him by the railing, wind tousling his hair, city lights carving hollows under his eyes. You made this happen, I said, holding up my phone. Confirmation email for the Tribeca gig, a solo showcase I'd dreamed of. He shrugged, modest. You earned it. I just cleared the path. Silence stretched, charged, until I pushed. What's your angle, Damien? In the stories we tell ourselves, villains don't rewrite endings for free. He turned, elbows on the rail, voice barely above the hum. Maybe I'm tired of being the villain. Or maybe it's you, stubborn, sketching your way out of corners, making me want to burn the script. His hand brushed mine, accidental, intentional, and heat bloomed unbidden. Before I could respond, Ryan appeared, arms slinging casual around my shoulders. There you are. Damien, didn't expect you at a little mixer like this. The dig landed soft, but Damien's jaw ticked. The night unraveled in whispers, Ryan cornering me by the bar, murmuring about us like it was inevitable, his kiss later in the elevator tasting of possession. I pulled back, excuses tumbling, and fled to the street, hail starting in fat, stinging drops. Damien was there, of course, umbrella extended, expression unreadable. Ride, I nodded, and in the car, the dam broke. I told him everything. The waking up, the novel knowledge, the terror of being a pawn. He listened, no interruption, then, I know the feeling. Woke up to my own rewrite years ago, closeted kid in a legacy that demanded straight lines. Saving you? It's practice for saving me. We parked outside my building, rain sheeting the windows, and in that cocoon, confessions flowed. His first crush, a boarding school roommate shipped off by his dad. My real-life flounders, the women who'd never fit because maybe I hadn't looked closer. The kiss happened slow, tentative, his lips cool from the scotch, mine hesitant until they weren't. It was revelation, not fireworks, the plot bending to truth. But truths have teeth. The next morning, Ryan's email hit like shrapnel, screenshots from last night. Blackwood's been playing you. Walk away clean. Attached, blurry photos from the rooftop, Damien's hand on mine, twisted to look damning. Misunderstanding, engineered or not, spread fast. Whispers in group chats, clients pulling back. Jamie rallied, dragging me to a dive bar in the East Village where Riley poured shots and stories. Their own journey from dead naming to self-naming a bomb. Prejudice is just fear in disguise, Riley said, clinking glasses. Yours or theirs? Damien called that night, voice tight. It's fallout from the old guard. My father's orders, testing loyalties. I didn't know about the pics. Belief warred with hurt, but I chose him, showing up at Blackwood Tower unannounced, security waving me up like I'd always belonged. His office was all glass and steel, views swallowing the skyline. But he looked small behind the desk, sleeves rolled, vulnerability cracking his poise. You came. We hashed it. His family's empire built on deals dirtier than the Hudson. The prejudice that choked his coming out at 18, boarding school exile as punishment. They called it rehab for my phase, he said, fists clenched. But phases don't rewrite your code. I shared my glitched arrival, the fear of fading if I strayed too far. Friendship with Jamie anchored me. Her by Pride Parade stories, the way she'd punch anyone who misgendered Riley. We're all villains in someone's tale, I said. But we get to edit. Resolution simmered slow. Ryan's sabotage unraveled when Jamie's hacker friend traced the leak to his assistant. Ambition, not malice, but the betrayal stung. We confronted him at a neutral coffee shop. No yelling, just raw talk. His insecurities mirroring ours, a tentative truce born of shared scars. Damien's father loomed largest, summoning us to the family penthouse on the Upper East Side. All crystal decanters and oil portraits. The man was a monolith, voice like grinding gears. This alliance weakens us, son. But Damien stood firm, hand finding mine. It's not alliance. It's life. The old man cracked. Just a hair, a nod, a gruff, don't screw it up. Prejudice yielding to legacy's evolution. High summer baked the city, and we claimed it. Picnics in Central Park where Jamie and Riley taught us bad poetry slams. Rooftop barbecues with a growing circle. Alex's trans colleague from freelancing. A lesbian couple from the design co-op. All weaving a tapestry stronger than any plot. Twists came. A client scandal that nearly tanked my Tribeca show. Damien's boardroom coup that left him bruised but unbowed. But we faced them tandem. Saves mutual now. The climax hit on a crisp fall eve, leaves carpeting the high line like confetti. I'd prepped a surprise, a custom sketchbook, pages chronicling our rewrite. From alley rain to rooftop confessions, each panel a love letter in graphite. Damien met me at the rail, wind off the river carrying salt and promise. For you, I said, handing it over. He flipped through, breath catching at the final spread. Us, silhouetted against the skyline. No villains, just two men choosing each other. You rewrote me, he whispered, pulling me close. The kiss was deeper now, seasoned with seasons past, tender, fierce, home. Around us, the city thrummed indifferent, but in that moment, it was ours. Misunderstandings mended, prejudices peeled back, friendships fortified. I hadn't just woken in a story, I'd claimed the pen. And as stars pricked the indigo sky, Damien's arm around me, I knew the real twist. Happy endings weren't endings at all. They were just the start of living unscripted.